Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
Secrets in the shallows, lost and found. Truth in every echo, loud and clear. Keep on with the long road, no more fear. In the halls of power, whispers grow. Every secret got beneath the undertone. Honest stories hidden in the glass. On this long road, in the truth we trust.
Welcome to The Long Road. I'm your host, Chris Roberts. And, there's so much stuff going on. I can go, do we talk about the stock market? Yeah, it's up about 2,000 points today, but that still leaves it maybe only a $9-10 trillion loss over the past week. The president has decided that, I'm going to postpone the tariffs for 90 days, except for China. Excuse me. Or the president has said to the head of Iran, I expect you and your military leaders to be in Oman this Saturday to discuss a talk. Oh, but I have no problem assassinating you. I want a high level of talk. Is the president going to be in Oman this Saturday, this weekend, to talk to the Iranians? Or the president has just came another executive order saying, we're going to open up pure, beautiful, clean coal. And what we're going to do is the factories that have been shut down, the power plants, they're just going to start right back up. All we can talk about right now, billions and billions of dollars is being brought back from overseas to be building plants, manufacturing plants in the United States. Well, a power plant, good old regular coal power plant, 5-10 years. That's if you're lucky. After you meet all the EPA requirements, after you get people, after you have places where coal can come into. So there's so much stuff. The other part people are not talking about is I brought up last night at the school board meeting, the state of New Hampshire's pension plan is one of the least invested. They're in debt. They could not handle something major. Well, guess what? Most of their money is invested in the stock market. Well, it's been going up pretty good, but a lot of it has been wiped out. So you go, hey, what's the big deal? It has no effect on me. Well, the state of New Hampshire retirement fund has to maintain at least enough money to pay out the benefits every year. And every 2 years, they go sit down and they make a projection of what amount of money they're going to need to cover the next 2 years. And 2011, they go, well, we're not really getting that much money. So the state is going to eliminate its 30% share to balance its budget. And it means the city of Keene, the county, the school board, not only are you going to make up the difference of the 30% that the state was paying, you're going to have to make that up. And then the people who are in the fund it's going to be an increase. So the teachers and some of the other ones, saw a small increase. There was a major increase for fire and police. But the city share was also increased over and above the 30% that they lost. And so, for example, some of the firemen will joke that every time a fire truck goes out, there's 4 people on there. 3 firemen, and the 4th person is the New Hampshire Retirement Fund. That's how many people are getting paid every time a fire truck went out. So that was one person, the salary of one person, what we had to do to cover the increases. So if the state New Hampshire Retirement Fund doesn't have enough money or can't project going forward, then it readjusts the rates that people who work for the state, the city, municipalities would have to pay in out of their paycheck. Right now, for example, for the average person, the majority of people, it's like 7% of their pay automatically goes into the retirement fund, and then you basically round it off to Social Security. So if you are a teacher or you work as a regular state employee at DMV or whatever, 15% of your paycheck is subtracted right off the bat for Social Security, Medicare, and New Hampshire Retirement Fund. Mandatory, no way out. Well, some of the stuff that goes on, you say, well, it doesn't affect me. Well, if, for example, the state retirement fund says, well, we're going to have to increase contributions by 15% to ensure we have enough money to pay out. Well, some of that will go to the employees. The rest goes to us, the local taxpayer. So you may not have money in the stock market. You may not have a 401k or an IRA or whatever, but you may not think about it. But if you're retired, you have your house paid off, and all of a sudden you have to pay 10% more on for your housing, your property tax. Okay, so hey, your house is worth your property tax is $700. $7,000. All of a sudden you're paying a $700 extra, and all you're relying on is Social Security. That could be a big change. And there's a lot of, with Doge, there's a lot of other cuts in government programs, spending. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. But the big question is, has this ever happened before in the history of the United States? Well, if you know American history, it has. Okay? If you know American history, there's a really strong likeness between Jackson and Trump. Okay? Was it bad? Yes, it's bad. Is it correctable? Yes, it's correctable. Well, do I have confidence in the American people saying, yes, we allowed other people to do everything for us? And what did we get? We're here right now. What we've done in the past, basically this whole century, quarter of a century, we've been allowing other people to take care of us. We've been allowing other people to make the determination what is in our best interest. Okay? And all we've done is sit there, complain if the other side is doing it. Oh, I'm conservative. I'm libertarian. Oh, I'm conservative. What is a conservative? I'm a Democrat. I'm a liberal. What is a liberal? I'm a progressive. What is a progressive? No. Do not ask me. I know what progressive is. I know what a liberal is. I know what a conservative is. We are allowing the other guys and women to define us. The Democrats will say, oh, yeah, this is what a Republican for. A conservative will say, that's what liberals are. Okay, progressives? The last progressive that I know about, reading history about American history, is Teddy Roosevelt. Child labor laws, conservation, antitrust, Nobel Peace Prize winner for stopping a war, not because I may be a person of color and I have the potential for helping world peace. You don't get a peace prize based on potential. Otherwise, a lot of people will be getting rewarded for potential that will be unfilled potential. Not untapped, but unfilled because they weren't willing to pay the price to make that potential blossom. Okay? So I was reading on April 7th, there was an article. It's going to be in Atlantic magazine. But this article was so powerful that Atlantic magazine let it come out early and allowed people to read the whole article without a subscription. And basically the article is, I should have known. And that title is extremely important because you have to have ability to self-reflection, of self-criticization, to accept the fact is, you know what? I wasn't doing my homework. Everything was right in front of my eyes. And I was finding justifications every time something went wrong that would challenge my beliefs. The article is by David Brooks. And so I printed off the article. I've highlighted things that I think are important in the article. And I'm going to do some personal interjections on this article based on my knowledge, my 70 plus years of studying, being a history major, and still just doing research, still want to learn every single day. He starts it off by saying, Charles de Gaulle began his war memorandum. Had a long day. It was in Manchester. Memorial with this sentence: all my life I have had a certain idea about France. You know what? For the vast majority of us Americans, we have had a certain idea of what it was to be an American, what was America about being the shiny hill, how we were the best country in the world, we're the greatest country that's ever been in the world, and we refuse to listen to any criticism of it, and as such, we felt there was no need ever to make it better than it was because to say we can make it better meant that we had to criticize ourselves. And if our beliefs are that we're the best in the world, why would we have to make it any better? You know, but let's go to the Boston Celtics or the New England Patriots when they're under Bill Belichick. When over the years they were winning championships, but they never had any problem getting rid of people that helped them win those championships. Because they said, yes, thank you for your contributions. Okay? You made us great. But the competition around us is going to be better because they want to compete with us. If we maintain what we're doing right now, the people are going to keep the other teams will not only catch up to us, but will exceed us. So we're great, but we want to be better. What are our shortfalls and what can we do as a team to make us better? Okay. So Mr. Brooks goes, well, all my life I've had a certain idea about America. I have thought of America as a deeply flawed nation that is nevertheless a force for tremendous good in the world, from Abraham Lincoln to Franklin Roosevelt to Ronald Reagan and beyond. America fought for freedom and human dignity and against tyranny. We promoted democracy, funded the Marshall Plan, saved millions of people across Africa from HIV and AIDS. When we caused harm, Vietnam, Iraq, it was because of our overconfidence and our nativity, not our evil intentions. Okay? When I put the word, when he said Ronald Reagan, you could probably guess that David Brooks is a Reagan conservative. Okay? When we caused harm in Vietnam, Iraq, it was because of our overconfidence and because we were naive. What he's saying is, we never did anything wrong intentionally. We had no evil intentions whatsoever in anything that we've done. Anytime something went wrong because we were overconfident and or naive. We attacked Iraq. We invaded Iraq. We invaded a sovereign country that proposed no threat to us because we thought it would be easy to send the most powerful military in the history of mankind to this small Middle East country that had a little bit more population around the state of Massachusetts, definitely less than people in northern New England and Massachusetts. It would be quick and easy, and we would be able to install a democratic government there, and then that democratic government would spread through the Middle East. I guess that's an easy pass if we go and say, well, we were naive. We were good intention, but we were naive. We were overconfident, but we were naive. So 22 years later, they're still killing people in Iraq. They're still killing people in Syria. Yeah. 2011. You have Libya. Pretty good country. Yes, it's an Arab country. Oh, education, free health care. Women go to college and they can hold positions and everything. Oh, let's send some bombers in there and take Gaddafi out. Again, we'll be able to celebrate Arab Spring. We can put a democratically elected government in there, a government that just so consequently will sell us all their oil. And plus, you know what? They're trying to do away with US dollars and they want to do something else. And he wants to work with Africa. That wasn't evil intentions. Again, we were naive that it was going to work. And here it is 14 years later. Libya is still at civil war. ISIS and Al-Qaeda are growing in Libya and growing through Africa. Again, overconfident, naive, or both. So even with David Brooks, he's trying to say, yes, America is the shining light in everything, but we have never, ever intentionally done anything bad. Chile might think different. Guatemala might think different. Some African countries might think different, but but the American people don't read history. American people only listen to what they're told. And if they don't like it, it never was spoken. Until January 20th, 25, I didn't realize how much of my very identity was built on this faith in my country's goodness, on the idea that we Americans are partners in a grand and historic enterprise, that our daily lives are ennobled by service to that cause. Since January 20, as I have watched, Americans behave violently towards our friends in Canada and Mexico, towards our friends in Europe, towards the heroes in Ukraine, and President Zelensky in the Oval Office. I have been troubled describing the anguish I've experienced. Grief, shock, like I'm living through some sort of hallucination. Maybe the best description for what I'm feeling about is moral shame. To watch the loss of our nation's honor is embarrassing and painful. In a way, what David Brooks is saying is he's trying to apologize. He's saying, I was wrong. He was naive because he had bought into the greatness on the hill that we've all brought into. It's kind of like, as long as the federal government is slipping stuff in my back pocket, there's nothing wrong with that. But, if they're slipping something, they're giving a free lunch, a school lunch, or a school breakfast to, those kids of color or those illegal aliens, things like that, migrants, that is totally wrong. Yes, that is wrong. Well, you know what? What about a lot of the poor white kids who get crappy education, who the only quality of food they get, quality food, sometimes the only food they're going to get, is the free lunch at school. Okay, I know some of you have heard of George Orwell in 1984. He quotes George Orwell. George Orwell is a useful guide to what we are witnessing. He understood that it's possible for people to seek power without any vision of the good. Yes, we have people in the history of mankind, womankind, humankind, that have sought power just for the sake of gaining power without any expectations of doing anything that may be benefiting the people around them. The quote from George Orwell in 1984, "The party seeks power entirely for its own sake." An autocrat said in 1984, "We are not interested in the good of others. We are interested solely in power, not wealth or luxury or long life or happiness. Solely in power. Only power, pure power." How is power demonstrated? By making others suffer. Orwell's character continues, "Obedience is not enough. Unless he is suffering, how can you be sure that he's obeying your will and not his own? Power is in inflicting pain and humiliation. The goal is you must not think for yourself." And stop and think of it. We have CNN, creates their group, Fox, their group, Patriot Radio, their group, all the different ones, Newsmax, they all create their groups, okay? And they all have something to sell. And all you have to do to continue to get that, what they're selling, is give up your ability to think. Only do what you are told to do. You are not smart enough to think on your own. You are not smart enough to read or do critical things. We are the smart ones. We have gone to the elite schools. Don't let anybody fool you. Look on the Republican side. There's a lot of Republicans that have gone to the elite schools. There's libertarians that go into the elite schools. Democrats go to the elite schools. An elitist is an elitist is an elitist. And part of that, I don't care what they call themselves, is that they honestly believe they know what's best for you and I, and they do not want us wasting our time thinking. Russell Vaughn, Donald Trump's budget director, sounds like he walked straight out of 1984. Okay, quoting him in 2023, "When we wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because we are increasingly viewed as the villains." He said of federal workers, "We want to put them in trauma." we, in 2023, we want to make sure when a federal worker wakes up every morning, he, she, he, whatever pronoun you want to use, are scared out of their crap to go to work. We want to put them in trauma. We want to traumatize them so bad, they're going to be afraid to go to work. I think Mr. Musk and Doge has done that pretty good. While the president and his people stay over here, say, I'm not responsible, Doge. And I had said maybe a month or two ago that Trump was using Musk until he no longer needed him, and it's basically done. Since coming back to the White House, Trump has caused suffering among Ukrainians, suffering among immigrants who have lived here for decades. Oh yeah, we accidentally sent the guy to that hellhole prison in El Salvador. Yeah, I know he was here legally, but you know what? He had a Real Madrid tattoo on him. And we thought someone thought that was M13. A lot of people go around with Real Madrid soccer shirts, so that doesn't even close to looking at. And what does Trump and his people say? Well, so sad, so bad. I guess it shouldn't have happened. But you know what? There's no way any court in the land has the right to tell us to get him back. So which means is, if I take people and accidentally ship them to the hellhole in El Salvador, they have to be, and they, sorry. Oh, how do you know that was no longer an accident? That was done on purpose. And so, you've been here for 51 years, you've been doing a great job, you've been paying all your taxes and all this other kind of stuff. Bingo, your kids are coming in here, your kids are grown up, they're American citizens and everything. Too bad, you're out of here. I thought they were going to look at for the 700,000 to 800,000 people who had deportation orders because they had criminal records. Now they're going to churches and schools and stuff. Now it says, yes, we have about an awful lot of illegals pay taxes and pay into Social Security every year because the 1986 law says, you've been here a while and you want to apply, we can take a look at it, but one of the first things we're going to look at, did you break the law and have you paid your taxes? Now we're going to say, well, you know what, you paid your taxes, now we're going to know you paid your taxes, and you have a TIN number instead of a Social Security number, and we're coming after you and we're going to deport you. Ooh, guess what? If I don't have a Social Security number, I can't cut Social Security, but I'm paying my taxes and hope to become an American citizen. But now I can't trust the government, so, I just won't pay my taxes. And so less money will go into the federal treasury and less money will go into Social Security. Suffering, many of them have lived here for decades. Some of them are some of the best people I know. Many of my friends in Washington are generally Christians who have found their vocation in public service, fighting sex trafficking, serving the world's poor, protecting America from foreign threats, doing biomedical research to cure disease. They've been trying to live lives consistent with the gospel of mercy and love. Basically now, he has devastated their work. He isn't just declaring war on wokeness. He's declaring war on Christian service or any kind of service, really. If there's an underlying philosophy driving Trump, It is this: morality is for suckers. The strong do what they want and the weak suffer what they must. This is the logic of bullies everywhere. And there is a constant strategy. It is this: day after day, the administration works to create a world where ruthless people can thrive. This means destroying any institution or arrangement that may check the strong man's power. The rule of law, domestic or internationally, restrain power, so it must be eviscerated. Inspector generals fired, judge advocate generals fired, oversight mechanisms destroyed, unfunded. Watchdog agencies are potential strains on power must be fired or neutralized. The truth itself is a restraint on power, so it must be abolished. Lying becomes the language of the state. Well, I look at the the Speaker of the House. I haven't heard him talking about an agenda for America. We got to pass Trump's agenda. We got to do this. This is what Trump wants. This is what Trump wants. No. The people in Congress and the people in the Senate weren't elected to be lackeys to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. They were there to protect the American people from someone governing by fiat. Last night at the school board, we were asked to sign some paperwork that said, you can't do this, and this if you want federal money. And I had a really, really big concern because I was being asked to agree something that I felt was morally and ethically wrong. And I'm going, I'm elected to the school board to do what's best for the children. I could say, well, you know what? We live in this part of the state, so we really don't have to worry about any of those things. And I go, that's now, but that's really a cop-out. Oh, it's not going to bother us right now, so why don't we just sign it and get away with it? Why should we risk federal funding? And then I go, an executive order is supposed to clarify a law. An executive order is supposed to allow us to implement the law when there's. But an executive order is not a law. A law has to be passed through it. It's got to go through Congress. It's got to go through the Senate. Then it has to be signed by the president or overrule the president's veto. But I don't know anything where an executive order is an order. Orders are kind of instructions, okay? But it's not a law. Do we capitulate? You know, Johnson and a group of people both in the House and in the Senate, if they want to capitulate to Donald Trump, if they want to get on their hands and knees and say, our allegiance is to Donald Trump, so be it. But I don't think the majority of Americans are going to do that or even want to do that. Capitulation is cowardness. To go and say, well, we need the money. Oh, so if you're going to give some of your most valuable assets away for money, maybe we should become streetwalkers. You got to have a core set of values, and you got to be able to defend them, even if the price is going to be high. Because you're going to have to answer to your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and say, Papa, why did you do that? We used to live in a world where ideologies crashed, but ideologies didn't seem to matter anymore. The strong man understanding of power is on the march. Power is like money, the more the better. Trump, Russia, Vladimir Putin, Turkey, North Korea, China. I was reading an article. The amount of democracy worldwide is decreasing. Not improving, decreasing. One of the most salient historical parallels might be the American of the 1830s. Andrew Jackson is the American president who most resembles Trump. Power-hungry, rash, narcissistic, driven by animosity, he is known by his opponents as King Jackson for his expansion of executive power. The man we have made our president has made himself our despot, and the Constitution now lies a heap of ruins at his feet. Senator Asher Robbins of Rhode Island said, when the way to his objective lies through the Constitution, the Constitution has not the strength of a cobweb to restrain him from breaking it. Jackson brazenly defied the Supreme Court in a ruling about Cherokee Nation territory. A defiance, it should be noticed, that Vice President Vance has explicitly endorsed. Thought we live under a form of republic, Supreme Court Justice Joseph Story said, we are in fact under the absolute rule of a single man. That was Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was known as King Jackson. Andrew Jackson, he had no problem with Native Americans and blacks, free blacks, supporting him in the Battle of New Orleans. But once he decided to run for power, he had no problem throwing them under the bus. He had no problem sending the Cherokees, which was an actual nation within the United States, and the Supreme Court said, sent them on their Trail of Tears to Oklahoma, resulting in thousands of deaths. But Jackson made the classic mistake of the populace. He overreached. Fueled by personal hostility towards the elites, he destroyed the second bank of the United States, an early precursor of the Federal Reserve System, and helped spark an economic depression that ruined the administration of his chosen successor, Martin Van Buren. In response to Jackson, the Whig Party arose in 1830 to create a new political and social order. Devoutly anti-authoritarianism, the Whigs were a culture, civic, and political force all at once. They emphasized both traditional morality and progressive improvements. They agitated for prison reform, for keeping the Sabbath, for more women participation in politics, and for a strong military, for government-funded public schools, and for pro-business government policies. They were opposed to Jackson's monstrous Indian Removal Act and the Democrat Party reactionary white supremacist social vision. Whereas Jackson Democrats emphasized negative liability, get your hands off me, the Whigs, who would turn into the early Republican Party of Abraham Lincoln, emphasized positive liberty, empowering Americans to live better lives with things such as expanded economic credit, free public education, and stronger legal protection, including due process and property rights. Okay, when you go and compare Jacksonian Democrats with their white supremacy and much control over the government, doing away with a central bank or the major bank that gave loans and ensured there was money available to be loaned out, to the Trump Republicans. Let's think. Oh, Colin Powell's stuff has been removed. And you go to Arlington National Cemetery. Well, you know what? Blacks, Native American, people of color, none of them were successful on their own. The only reason they were promoted was because we had slots for them. They were promoted, and as a result of them being promoted, more qualified white males were unjustly prevented from reaching what they were qualified for. The black chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, the woman head of the Coast Guard, the woman head of the Navy, the black lieutenant general who's the head of the military medical service, the woman admiral over in NATO. Now Harriet Tubman is kind of being removed. Like I said, Ira Hayes from the Marine Corps, Medal of Honor winners because they happen to be, all these people. And we're trying to say anti-DEI. Okay, DEI was crap. DEI, people were taking advantage of it. Some of the most wealthiest authors of DEI were white people. Some of them were getting $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a speech. So you have white intellectuals who went to top-name elite colleges going to blacks and other ones and saying, oh, you've been screwed over, and this is why you've been screwed over. This is how you've been screwed over. Okay, lady, how much is that money you're making, are you donating to poor schools so they can get a better quality education so they have better opportunity? So if you look at the Jackson Democrats and the Trump Republicans, there isn't much difference. And the Trump Republicans want to do, the only thing they really want is a stronger military, but now the Secretary of Defense is saying, wait a minute, we might get rid of 70,000 soldiers. Thought we have come to call the early to mid 19th century the age of Jackson. The historian Daniel Walker Howell has noted, it was not Jackson but the Whigs that created America we know today. An economic modernizer as supporter of a strong national government and as humanitarians more receptive of their rivals to talent regardless of race and gender. The Whigs facilitated the transformation of the United States from a collection of parochial agriculture communities into a cosmopolitan nation integrated by commerce, in industry, information, and voluntary associations, as well as by political ties. Looking back, we can see that even though they were not the dominant party of their time, the Whigs were the party of American future. To begin its recovery from Trumpism, America needs its next Whig movement. Okay? America needs to get rid of the current Democratic Party. America needs to get rid of the current Republican Party. Because really to get elected to the Republican Party or you get to the Democratic Party, it has nothing to do with talent. One, you might be able to get in if you have enough money to buy your way, but as guys like Bloomberg and other ones have found out, even all the money in the world can't get you in. You got to have a niche. Yes, the Democratic and the Republican Party were so at each other, going back and forth, and Mr. Trump says, hey, I'm just going to take the end around and walk right up to the end of the pack without getting shot at. We can thank the Democratic Party and the Republican Party for Donald Trump. In 2016, the Democratic Party anointed Hillary Clinton. In 2024, the Democratic Party anointed Harris. How did that work out for you guys? But no, what do? You give a guy that just about lost it, you don't have him do anything, and you fake it till you make it and get him elected president. 2020 showed how much America did not want Trump. Look at the 2020 election totals compared to the 2024 election totals. Twice the Democratic Party gave American people bad choices, and twice they lost, and look what we have. What do you mean? Oh, 2016, yeah, so my husband's accused of rape a bunch of times. Yeah, so my husband did this and my husband did that. But I'm still a Tammy Wynette, stand by your man. That's a late 50, early 60 song. You know, when women didn't have credit cards and most women couldn't go out to work. And if they worked, you know, they weren't getting paid very well. No, women went to college and all that kind of stuff. And no, I'm not standing by my man. If he's a scum, he's going to be washed away. But I'm not staying there. The pathetic thing is that I did not see this coming, even thought I've been living around these people my whole life. I joined the conservative movement in 1980 when I worked for the National Review, the Washington Times, the Wall Street Journal editorial page. There were two kinds of people in our movement back then, the conservatives and the reactionaries. We conservatives honestly read Milton Friedman, Whittaker Chambers, Edmund Burke. The reactionaries just wanted to shock the left. We conservatives oriented our lives around writing for intellectual magazines. The reactionaries were attracted to TV and radio. We were on the political right but had many liberal friends. They had contempt for anyone not on the anti-established right. They were not pro-conservative, they were anti-left. I have come to appreciate that this is an important difference. I should have understood this much sooner, because the reactionaries have reviewed their true nature as far back in January 1986. A group of progressive students at Dartmouth had erected a shantytown on the campus to protest apartheid. One night, a group of 12 students, most of them associated with the right-wing Dartmouth Review, descended on the shantytowns with sledgehammers and smashed them down. Even then, I was appalled. Apartheid was evil and worth the opposing. A nighttime raid with sledgehammers deceived more Gestapo. And got a few. End this for now. A prominent publisher of a right-wing author once told me that the best way to sell conservative books is not to write a good book, not even tell the truth. It is to write a book that will offend the left. Therefore, they would get so upset that people on the right would go out and buy the books. So, the radical right have no problem taking advantage of their supporters.